A government agency that has gone bye-bye. They're looking to bring it back, but with a twist, with blockchain. Who will be chosen to resurge the USAID, to bring it back to life? Will it be Chainlink? Will it be Solana? Will it be maybe a Bitcoin or some other altcoins? We'll have that important discussion. Something that Donald Trump and the cabinet want. And what does that mean for those altcoins? We're also going to take a look at the meme coin space. If you could take a guess, how many of the 8.7 million meme coins launched on Pump.Fun, how many still have a market cap of over $100 million? The answer is wild. It's very wild. So what does that mean? Does that mean the meme coin space is dead? Or are we going to see a resurgence? We'll get Forrest's thoughts as he's joining us today for Forrest Friday. We'll break down the charts and we'll talk a little bit about Uniswap and whether that is the strongest play in DeFi. Right now, we'll have that discussion and much, much more on today's episode of Sin City Crypto. Let's go.
Hola! It's your boy, Big Rob, back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto, home of the entertainment focus and price prediction focus cryptocurrency channel, where we take all that old, boring, and stale information and repackage that whole thing up in a fun and Las Vegas, Elvis, showgirls, and strip clubs kind of way. What we do.
You talk about strip clubs a lot. Isn't there that one strip club that gives like punch cards for every time you go? You go to that one, don't you?
A frappuccino and a two latte.
You can get a lot of perks from going to the strip club regularly. The Hustler Strip Club here in town. It's open bar till 9 p.m.
See, exactly.
Every day.
My point, yeah.
Could you imagine? You go to the strip club, you got entertainment in front of you, and then you get free drinks until 9 p.m.
Listen.
All you got to do is tip, And your boy, he's the backbone of the tipping industry.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere I go,
backbone.
I just straight up handshake.
Yeah.
One time,
One
time I was at the grocery store, and some guy cut a bunch of deli meats. I was like, "Oh, give me this cheese, give me this. Let me get 5 pounds of that, 2 pounds of that." Anyways,
5 pounds.
I had this dude running back and forth on that meat slicer forever. Then at the end, I threw him $40, and he was like, "I can't take this. What's that for?" And I was like, "Bro, it's a tip." He's like, "Oh, I'll get fired." I was like, "Take it." He's like, "I can't take it." I was like, "Take it."
So you wanted to get the guy fired over $40.
He got fired. Okay. So he got fired.
He didn't take it, man. I'm just like,
I'm glad he didn't.
I guess if you give the deli slicer guy money, he's more inclined to
give you extra meat.
Give you extra meat. I didn't want the extra meat. I put
the finger on the scale.
You just wanted to get him fired.
To go heavier on the scale, They charge more.
He's like, I didn't want the extra meat. I just wanted him to get fired.
Yeah.
$40. That's what, 3 coffees according to you?
But anyways, yeah, I tip everybody.
1 bottle and a half of water.
Okay. Anyways,
I tipped the guy at the gym one time. No, I was out of town. I was at a conference, and they let me in.
Okay.
You're supposed to have like a guest pass or whatever. I didn't have membership. Anyways, they don't have the club I go to.
Let me guess. You go to your mom's house. She gives you a hug, says, "I love you." You try to tip her?
Of course. I was in Atlanta, and there was none of the Vegas gyms there, and so I signed up for a day pass, and the guy was like, "Come on, it's free. It's on me." So I threw him a tip. He's like,
"Who's that?"
Right. Tip everybody, bro.
Anyways, hi, Forrest. How are you?
Yo, what's up? Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us, man. Sorry about the delayed intro there. As my friend Rob had to get a lot off his chest. He's big into tipping, apparently, and now you know that.
Apparently.
If you tip heavy in your community, you can get things done, right? You get the tables at the nicest restaurants. You get into the nightclubs.
Yeah, we get it.
I'm just saying that, I recommend if you want to have a presence in
people
your town.
Are broke, literally. The delinquency on card payments is going up. Also, speaking of people being broke, my God, you know what? Let's just start here since we're on the topic. Guys, breaking news. Now your Chick-fil-A order that you have through DoorDash, you can actually finance it. So DoorDash and Klarna have signed a deal where customers can choose to pay for food deliveries in interest-free payments or deferred options aligned with their payday schedule.
I hope it's not a driver that gotta pay.
What is the state of the economy if this is something that people will start using? You know what I'm saying? This is bad. Like if you can't pay for the food delivery, either don't buy the food or go to the place and save the extra money. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this one? It's not crypto related, but it's very interesting. It's economy related, you know?
No, I think that's
Like something Ashley
American
would use.
American ideology related. That's what I think it is.
No, it's something Ashley would for sure use.
No, here's the thing. Like, you won't see this overseas at all anywhere. Ain't no country outside the U.S. got the balls to do interest payments and payday loans on
Delivery
a
fee.
restaurant delivery. Like, come on now. Hey,
no
Rocco,
way.
I mean,
No
would
way.
would this ever happen in Italy? Let me ask you a question.
Absolutely not. Imagine you order a carbonara, gonna pay in 3 installments. The lasagna gonna pay in 3 payments for the next 3 months.
Babe, if I had extra cheese, it's only an extra 30 cents a month on the payment.
No.
Like, if I got like a whole cow, I guess, like, you're buying like bulk meats or something, like, hey, you know what? Give me
Buy a car,
give me
yeah.
2 cows and an ostrich, and then we'll break this thing down in payments. I'll throw the extra meat in the freezer. There.
Forrest, what does this mean for Bitcoin? Is it bullish or bearish?
I mean, it's clearly bullish since, instead of buying burritos, people are just going to be, taking their $8, $9, $10 at a time, piling it
Stablecoin.
into 100x leverage Bitcoin, pushing the price up. I think it's up only from here.
My dude, that's why I love you, Forrest. That's why we bring you on every week, because we love your insight. That was amazing, guys. Okay, all right, let's get into the real news here. All right. Was that a Modelo you were drinking, Forrest?
Yeah, afternoon. No, it's a
Dude, I thought that was like a Modelo for a second. All right, anyways. Oh, it's a Fresca, Agua Fresca. All right. Okay. So on your thumbnail, you saw Trump, U.S. government plus crypto. What does that mean? Let's talk about it. Trump revamps USAID, job cuts, blockchain use, and a new strategy. According to Politico, Trump wants a leaner agency focused on global health, food security, disaster response, and countering China's influence. A leaked memo reveals plans to rename the agency, bring it under direct government control, and even use blockchain technology to track the aid. Now, a lot of the Doge cuts, at least the ones that made the headlines, were from USAID. One, not being able to track where the money went, but two, once you do track where the money went, figuring out, well, what the hell is this money going for? And so this is something, according to the memo here, that Politico got, that they want to leverage blockchain technology. The document states that the agency will use blockchain technology to improve security, transparency, and traceability in aid distribution. However, it is unclear whether this will involve cryptocurrency, stablecoins, or simply using blockchain for tracking aid. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're using blockchain, you kind of have to use a cryptocurrency, right? Because you got to pay the validator somehow.
I mean, if you tokenize the transaction, I mean, then at that point you don't have to use crypto, right? I mean you do need to use some crypto, as each transaction, but
Interesting. And then it goes on. So Linda Raftree was a consultant. How the hell do I get rid of this? Okay. Linda Raftree is a consultant who works with the aid group Adopt New Technology. She argues that blockchain is often unnecessary. She said, quote, "It feels like a solution to a problem that doesn't exist." She explains that traditional systems can already track aid effectively. Yeah, exactly. Just how they don't know where $7 trillion went from the Pentagon. So here's the question, okay? To me, this makes sense. It's a decentralized ledger. It's on the public, especially when it's taxpayer money. I think the taxpayers deserve to know where their money's going, right? And so blockchain is perfect. It's not centralized. It's decentralized. It's not controlled by one party or two parties. And anyone can check it at any point in time as they please. Go to the website, put up a website that's got the scanner on there or whatever, and you can check it. Now, the question becomes, if this becomes a reality, which altcoins would benefit the most? Is it something like Chainlink, who's focused on infrastructure and kind of connecting multiple blockchains? Is it a cryptocurrency specific like Solana, where we know it's got blazing fast speed, it's got the stable coins, it's got the users? With FireDancer, it'll have the throughput with all the failed transactions. Or is there one that maybe people aren't thinking about? I'll go to you first, Robin.
I mean, I don't know. For me, it's pretty obvious.
First of all, do you think it makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. we're educated in crypto and the advantages of it, so we're not going to go down this rabbit hole of well, this is why you would use it. Obviously, you can track and trace every transaction and it's open to the public, so it's ideal for government, right? Because the government and their taxes represent your money, right? Every dollar that you pay in taxes, you should be able to say, hey, where's that going? Anyways. The ones that are going to win the ones going to win here is whoever's blockchain is getting used to track and trace, or whichever one they're using right now. Maybe they use more than one, but I don't know. I'm thinking it'll probably be one blockchain. I don't think it's going to be Solana though, just because of how many failed transactions. I feel like you can't really. But at the same time, USAID is not sending out tens of thousands of transactions per day, and so it's more of a government program that is issuing out.
Cut a check for $50 million.
Yeah, and so I don't think you need to prioritize speed there. So I think failed transactions plus the fact that speed is not the deciding factor for picking a blockchain. I don't know. I think you just need scale. You would need assurance on security, transparency, and just basically time in the market. I think Ethereum is really the only answer here, honestly, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm not a big Ethereum guy, but I think Ethereum makes the most sense because, I mean, it's been around the longest for the altcoins, and I mean, I don't know. It just makes too much sense for me, right? We know ETH ain't gonna go nowhere. It's you could argue it's sufficiently decentralized, and also it's it does well with RWAs and exactly for what we're talking about. So you could tokenize an ERC20 or one of the other ERC versions that would be best suited for that, and yeah, call it a day. It'd be pretty easy plug and play for them.
Forrest, you usually have some pretty unique perspective. What are your thoughts here? Do you think this actually makes sense for blockchain use, and what do you think is something to Rob's point? He thinks security is a big thing. He doesn't think throughput and speed is as important. What's your kind of take on this whole news story here?
Yeah, I think it does make sense if you're wanting to make these payments traceable and transparent. Beyond that, I think your two blockchains that are most likely to be used are Base or XRP Ledger, mainly because I think this comes down to custody solution, and the only companies that do custody at a large scale that I know of are Ripple and Coinbase. So if you've got tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions or billions of dollars that are going to be needed to be sent and transacted with over this blockchain through USAID or whatever other government program, where those stable coins, because that's essentially, we're talking blockchain, you can't just send dollars over the blockchain. They have got to be, turned into stable coins, and then you send the stable coin payments. So I just look at this as like a custody solution. Like the biggest, the problem here isn't like what blockchain can handle the throughput. It's about what blockchain or what custody solution works the best here. It comes down to like Coinbase and Ripple. Those are the two big custody providers that I know of at a large scale that can handle this. So I would think probably XRP Ledger, if not maybe Base, just depending on who they go with for custody.
That's why I love having you on the show, man. That's a unique perspective. Something I didn't think about, right? The whole custody part of it, and it makes total sense, right? They're not going to send, let's say it's Ethereum. They're not going to send ETH tokens. They're going to send stable coins on whatever network they send it in. And to your point, where is that going to be held? And Ripple did. What's the name of that custody company they bought? A year ago, 2 years ago?
I don't know.
I forget, but it was like the main custody company aside from Coinbase.
Yeah. And XRP has their own stable coin. And so we'll see, but that's very interesting. I agree. I think blockchain technology, this is perfect for what the use case is, right? It's to be able to, for the public to track spending, where money is going. And so to me, this makes the most amount of sense. Stable coins makes the most sense. This is like number 2, right? Tracking government spending. It's something that I believe could be a super easy deployment into what the government is doing. And I think it'll instill trust back into the government for people. If I know that my dollars that I pay to the government are going to the places that I voted for and where I want them to go, I feel more inclined to trust the government. I think it's a win-win for everyone. So that makes total sense. I also think Chainlink's an interesting one as well. It's from the infrastructure side, CCIP. Who knows what this will look like? But either way, it'll be a benefit to the entire industry as a whole, because it'll set precedents, and it'll be actually a large case study for the largest government for the largest economy in the world, that, hey, we were able to leverage blockchain. These are the results. And just like we talk about the strategic reserve in the U.S., and the U.S. going out and buying all this Bitcoin that other countries will follow, I think if this happens and it's successful, I think other countries will follow, and it'll benefit the entire economy globally. All right, Forrest, if you want to queue up a BTC chart, my friend, I want to share this. Bitcoin transaction volume plummets to 2023 lows. Is a bearish trend ahead? Now, we had Mark Yusko on the show on Tuesday, and I asked him, I said, do you think the bull market's over? He said no. He said he thinks that this has a lot to do with classic cycle, but also the macro environment is kind of holding back the fear of the tariffs and inflation going back up because of them. And then we had Jerome Powell speak on Wednesday. He essentially pointed the finger at Donald Trump. Either way, at its peak in mid-2024, Bitcoin saw over 700,000 daily transactions, which is a sharp contrast to the current levels, which have fallen below 400,000 transactions. Historically, a drop in transaction volume has often preceded periods of price stagnations or corrections. Forrest, I see you have a Bitcoin chart up. Thank you very much. If you wouldn't mind commenting on this metric here, do you take anything away from it? And then if you want to dive into that Bitcoin chart you got on your screen.
What was the metric again?
Daily transactions. So they're saying it's at 2023 lows. And typically when transactions fall the way they have from 700K to 400K, it's often preceded periods of price stagnation or large corrections.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, that's, not something that I personally track. More so for me, I'm sitting here wondering, what is the bear case? Because the baseline state of markets, especially markets that have passive flows like the S&P 500, like Bitcoin now with the ETFs, like gold, like silver, any asset that has passive flows. And what I mean by that is just like people take a portion of their paycheck every single, pay period and allocate it to Bitcoin, to the S&P 500, to gold, whatever it is. The baseline state of markets, and just to kind of illustrate this, is let's zoom out on the S&P 500. Unless you have a massive, scary big reason, like a recession, like a housing market crash, like a speculative bubble, like the dot-com bubble, like a global pandemic, your base case should always be upwards. Your baseline is always upwards. And my guess here, or my question here for the bears is what is the bear case? I think we saw Bitcoin and crypto and just broader markets rally after FOMC, not necessarily because we had this amazing FOMC meeting where, that we got more rate cuts surprised it or anything like that. It was just, it lacked any sort of bear catalyst. There was no ammunition to send this lower. They kept, Jerome Powell and the Fed, they kept 2 rate cuts. They decreased their GDP projection a little bit. They increased their inflation projection a little bit, but they said they're not super certain in their projections anyways, and there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. They rolled back quantitative tightening by about 80%, which was bullish. So it was just a total mixed bag, but there was no big reason for the market to nuke and for the bears to win. And I think you saw just a lot of bears capitulate and price drove upwards because you had a lot of shorts closing. Of course, I do think it's possible that we do go lower if we do get some sort of bearish news event. I don't want to say even black swan, but just some sort of bearish development, some headline, whether it's, more Trump tariffs or, the ceasefire in Russia and Ukraine doesn't work out, or maybe China and Taiwan becomes a thing, or maybe Trump and starts pushing on the Gaza thing a little bit. Who knows what the news catalyst would be? But for me, I'm very, very bullish. Probably more bullish than anybody I know for the rest of the year, particularly with regards to Bitcoin, but also for gold and even for the stock market. My targets for the rest of this year are like 150 to 200K Bitcoin, which is me. Like, I've been the person that's been very hesitant to raise my targets all the way along this bull market. I've been saying, hey, we need to see how this plays out. We need to see, we need to get more data. I've recently raised my price targets as we've come into this region because 73K is just a very strong level, and I just don't see a bear case. And I think people are going to become forced buyers of Bitcoin and gold and other hard assets as the money supply continues to grind higher. I also
Forrest, what do you mean by that?
Oh, good.
Sorry, Forrest. What do you mean by they'll become forced buyers? Can you maybe explain that in a little more, detail?
Yeah. So if we just go and look at M2 money supply, this is just like the debasement of the dollar, and it's from it kind of bottomed out in 2023, and it's revving up again. Quantitative tightenings coming, been reduced by 80%. I think we're going to get a couple of rate cuts this year. I think we're going to move back into printing. And this is we took a brief pause. This is why you got your little 20, between this and high oil prices, this is why you got your little 2022 mini recession. This money supply has 80x'd since 1960, right? The purchasing power of we're at a point where I think the masses are finally realizing that you cannot work a normal job and expect to retire by the age of 55 to 65. There's even people that have worked their entire lives and they're 40 or 50 years old, and then all of a sudden the money supply doubles or triples overnight, post COVID, or just rapidly increases, and you just got years and years of work inflated away. So if you do not aggressively invest in gold, revenue generating companies, aka stocks and equities, or essentially Bitcoin or any other hard asset commodity with a scarce supply and real demand underneath it, you have no chance of retiring on time. You're just going to get inflated away. You could, ideally, you could also invest in real estate, but so many of those like base level homes are now out of reach for a younger generation. So that's off the table too. It's hard to invest in real estate. So I just think I see this people starting to panic and realize we saw this happen actually with meme coins, mini super cycle. I think meme coins are dead, which I know we're going to talk about in a little bit, but I think that was just the most degenerate people, the most, I think it was like a flash of what's to come. I think that was the most degenerate market participants trying to gamble their way out of not necessarily poverty, but out of this idea of not being able to retire on time. And I think the broader market participants are going to undergo that same, as we start printing money again and moving into quantitative easing, I think they're going to undergo that same kind of, crisis. And instead of picking meme coins, they're going to pick gold and Bitcoin and stocks. So yeah, I think we're headed into a very bullish period for most markets here. I also just think the worst is over. I think tariffs are a dumb reason to sell Bitcoin. I think tariffs are a dumb reason to sell stocks. I think stocks were just a little bit overheated and now they've cooled off. I don't see the bear case. I think once we get over 100K or so, I think this thing's going to zip pretty aggressively to the upside.
I agree.
That being said, I think if we do get more downside, my level that I'm very happy to buy is 73K, 70 to 75K. I just don't see that breaking. If it does, then I'm wrong, and I'll be willing to entertain the more bearish outcome or bear market outcome. But I'm not seeing any signs of a bear market yet. I think a lot of people have PTSD from last cycle.
Yep.
But you have to remember, last cycle, everyone's fearful, Bitcoin's going to do this. in this, okay, that was FTX collapsing. That was Celsius going under. Fraud. Terra Luna, fraud. Like, everyone's terrified of this like 80% correction saying the cycle's over, but like where is like the mass entrenched fraud within crypto? You could argue maybe it was in meme coins, and those are already at zero. So I mean, I just don't like, I think the case for being a bear is super, super weak here. Below 73K or so, but that's just kind of chop and range. And I'd be surprised at this point if we even get that. And if we do, I'm a happy buyer down there. So I'm honestly pretty bullish here. I know a lot of people have flipped bearish and said, cycle top is in, but I think this is just going to climb the wall of worry, which I don't even really understand the wall of worry right now. Like, I don't see like tariffs. Okay. I mean, like, cool. That's kind of transitory, right? And I think we'll climb the wall of worry. And once Bitcoin's over 100K, I think you're going to have a lot of people that stepped out of the market in a big deviation here are going to end up buying back higher and chasing and pushing it a lot higher. So that's kind of my base case.
I am like 100% in agreement with you. I actually think we'll get one more flush down to that 70. My level I'm looking at is like 71.6, but like you said, 70 to 75, great. I mean, I'm a buyer there too, but I don't think we're in a bear market. And like I said, everything you said, I 100% agree with.
Yeah, I think probably in the next 6 weeks, we probably see a move to $120,000 Bitcoin.
I don't know about the next.
And here's the thing: I genuinely and I say that as like, I don't know what the price is, but basically where I'm going at is I think that in the next 2 months we do print a new all-time high, and the reason I say that is because I think that 77,000 for me, I look at that as a local bottom. I don't think we go back down under 80,000. If we do, I think 77 is that support. We're not going under it. That's my vibe. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but. I think 77, we look at that in the rear view, be like, well, you know what? Bitcoin did hit 77,000. But I think that we're going to find a large announcement. Perhaps the U.S. is a buyer of Bitcoin. I have a suspicion that after that digital assets summit that we had or that crypto summit that we had at the White House a couple weeks ago, I think that what they were doing was planning how to buy Bitcoin. They even came out and said that they weren't going to buy without, and put a negative on the budget, right? So basically they were saying like we're going to find a way to buy this so that way it's not coming out of the taxpayer money, is essentially what they said. And they had the smartest people in the room, 40 plus individuals at the summit. And so I think that's what they're doing. You saw David Sachs talking to the UAE.
Whoa! I'm so happy you brought that up. Go ahead.
Yeah, so he's sitting there. So basically, you have the crypto czar sitting down with the prince of the UAE, discussing what could they be discussing? Obviously, it's going to be. Oh yeah, there you go.
This was big news. I'm happy you brought that up. This completely skipped my mind. I was reading it this morning, but I didn't put it in the notes. Happy you brought that up. $1.4 trillion they're investing in the U.S., focusing on AI, semiconductors, energy, and manufacturing.
And so I have a feeling the fact that David Sachs was there, that they discussed their positioning on Bitcoin. They are already very progressive on crypto.
Don't forget, Sachs is also the AI.
AI, yes, 100%. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like, and then you had Donald Trump speaking at the Digital Asset Summit in New York yesterday, where he said that they want to dominate and be the leader in Bitcoin. This is normal.
Bitcoin superpower.
Wants to be the Bitcoin superpower.
We're going to be the great superpower.
And so what I think is happening is that the U.S. is actively buying in Bitcoin. And this is 100% speculation. There's nothing yet to be seen that suggests this is happening. But if the U.S. was buying Bitcoin, who do you think they would buy it from?
What do you mean? Who would?
Like, where do you think they would buy it? Coinbase?
OTC, yeah.
Who was at the summit at the White House?
Brian Armstrong.
Yeah, there you go. So I don't know what else you need. Like, if you don't think that the U.S. is not creating a Bitcoin reserve, strategic reserve, and not buying Bitcoin. So I don't think it does them any favors announcing that they bought, right? And so I think they're actively buying now. So I think within the next 60 days, I'm telling you, news is going to come out. U.S. has increased their position, and I think that those headlines are going to spur. They're going to spur an economic situation where globally other countries are trying to position themselves to get a piece of the pie, right? Because it's a zero-sum game. So you buy. If the other people don't buy, the price keeps going up. And then if you decide to get in later and later and later and later in the game, they're paying more.
I just find it hard to believe that the sleuths wouldn't figure out by tracking on-chain movement that the U.S. government was buying Bitcoin. But
I don't know, man. I mean, it's you never hear. It's hard to track Michael Saylor's buys. A lot of those come out of nowhere, and those are all confidential. Those are extremely confidential, especially when you work with Coinbase. I feel like that's kind of like their thing with OTC is that like, hey, like we're not going to announce your buys at all. And I mean, Elon Musk with, Tesla and SpaceX bought, what was it, over $1 billion, $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin back in 2020. And nobody even smelled that one until it would have already been purchased. And then remember they sold and we didn't find out till the quarterly freaking, they sold half their Bitcoin or something like that, or 70% of their Bitcoin. And we didn't find out about it until they got to the quarterly earnings report. And so, I mean, if you don't think that Coinbase can keep that under wraps, I mean, just look at the track record. So I don't know. I think that the U.S. is buying, purely speculation. And I think that news comes out within the next, say, 6 weeks. And I think that's something that's going to absolutely explode the price.
I think because I sit there and I like to look at it from the other perspective, right? And we're sitting here, and I think all three of us, probably Rocco too, we're talking about like what's the bear case. I think the bear case for people is they look ahead. They say, okay, tariffs. The economists are saying, hey, this is going to cause inflation. Oh my God, if we get inflation, what does that mean for the Fed? That means the Fed's going to hike interest rates. When the Fed hikes interest rates, it dries up liquidity. When liquidity dries up, people go risk off. When people go risk off, the markets go down. And so I think that is what people's bear case is. So if that is what people's bear case is, what would be your pushback to that narrative, Forrest? What would be your pushback to people saying that? Everything I kind of just laid out.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say a lot of it's already priced in, right? We've already sold off quite a bit, like 10% across equities.
That's
Bitcoin
a big move
down
too.
From 110. Yeah, very sharp, aggressive, fast move. So a lot of it's priced in, and I'd say the base state of markets is to go up. Like if you like S&P 500 just goes up because there's a passive bid. The two things that will really pop a bubble and really drive markets down is inflation, in the sense that oil prices rise, and you've got a big wave of financial burden coming into the consumer and businesses that's difficult to plan for. So that's what we saw in 2022. That's what we've seen with every prior recession is, you might have a housing bubble, but remember Michael Berry in the Big Short, he had to sit on that position. Like the market was totally in a bubble, but it stayed in a bubble for like 3 years. He had to sit and pay premiums on those swaps for, he lost like 40 or 50% of his fund over the 3 years he had to pay it because the actual bubble didn't burst until oil prices skyrocketed. Like you can go back and look at it in the chart. So we've got U.S. oil supply at all-time highs, oil prices, at multi-year lows. I mean, I fail to see what's really going to drive markets off of their baseline of going up. Markets just go up. And then the other thing that can happen is obviously that passive bid is affected if you have unemployment spike, unemployment rise. Yep. We're seeing a tight labor market. We're seeing unemployment stay relatively low. Yes, there's been some layoffs, but we're not near the levels that we've seen in prior recessions or, that preceded prior recessions. So obviously, if we do see unemployment rise and spike, that is a concern and we need to take that into account. But I'm not going to just like predict that unemployment's going to rise and oil is going to rise and then we're going to find ourselves in a recession. Like right now, you're getting a 10+% discount across, most equities or, the indexes. I think is like a total of a 12% decline that we saw in the S&P 500. Maybe it was like 9%. Historically, that's like one of the worst places to get bearish. For every 40 or 50% drawdown you see, or aka recession that you see in the S&P 500, there's a dozen times where it's dropped 10% and then ripped to new all-time highs. So just statistically, in being in line with baseline of that markets go up and it pays to be a bull. Like if I'm going to be a bear, I better be really darn sure about being bearish, and ideally from a higher price point than a 10% dip, already. So I just think it's horrendously bad risk reward to be a bear on strong assets like Bitcoin, like the S&P 500. Like, even at this point, XRP, which is, altcoin or whatever. But yeah, by all means, if you want to be bearish on meme coins, go for it. I agree with you. Like I'm bearish also on meme coins. I'm bearish on bad assets, but stronger assets with cash flows or scarcity, like their baseline is that they go up, and we've already seen a large correction. I don't see a massive bear case right now. So that's my pushback. I just it's better risk reward to be bullish, especially at a 10% discount. On
I mean, not anything too dramatic here, but we are having a decent little breakout on Bitcoin. If you take a look here, at the start of the show, we were at 83,900, and so at 84.34, so nice little move to the upside.
That 84K level is very important. If we can hold above 84, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see. Obviously we haven't crossed over 85. So I think if we get over 85,000, I mean, outside of the one day, we haven't been over 85,000. So if we get over 85,000, I think if we can end the day at 85 plus, and then go into the weekend, I think could see some more momentum carry us up to that 90K range. Did you guys see this? Nothing to do with crypto here, but this was entertaining. Take a look at this one. On the train.
He's a racist.
Yeah, New York. This guy's getting berated by this Karen or somebody because he's got a MAGA hat on, and so she chases him, and then and then busts her. But I did find
I've already created memes for that.
Yeah, so I found that this was the actual video of what happened here. So take a look here. Yeah, she fell, and then this is what you missed, and we didn't know.
Stupid.
This was.
Where did you find this video? With the dolphin. That's funny though.
So what really happened after she fell? There you go.
Yeah, it's a long fall there, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about meme coins. Okay. It's from posted by Jeremy BTC. The percentage of pump.fun tokens graduating keeps on dropping. 0.69% of tokens that launch on pump.fun are graduating now. 0.69%. That is not good. And then look at this number. Out of the 8.7 million pump.fun tokens, only 4 are still valued at over $100 million. What does this tell you? It tells you that you are probably going to lose your money if you participate in this ecosystem. Or if you choose to participate in this ecosystem, you make a 2x, sell. You make a 3x, sell. The whole of, I found the next Doge and SHIB, the odds are massively stacked against you. I was going to ask you guys your thoughts on the meme coin markets now. Is there money to be made? I think, Forrest, you kind of already answered that question. You said you're bearish on meme coins. You're bullish on more utility projects. Rob, is this an opportunity for maybe scooping up some of the meme coins that have been around for a while? Because I saw a comment from the chat, and I forgot who put it out, but said, look, people by nature are greedy. And so we got to flush out of the meme coin casino. Are people going to come back to the meme coin casino? And if they do, would it be a good time to maybe scoop up some?
I mean, sure. I think, you've hyped up the meme coin market cap. You know what I look at meme coins as especially as we move forward. I look at meme coins in the same way that I look at like penny stocks. Are people buying penny stocks? Sure. I mean, how many penny stocks have you bought? How many penny stocks have you thrown life savings at? And I can tell you, I haven't. I don't really care for it, and I think most people out here
Bought a few, lost money on all of them.
Yeah, but you agree that 99% of people aren't really out here trying to find the next penny stock, right? And so I think the same is going to be said as this space matures, that 99% of people aren't going to care about meme coins eventually. Now, with that said, there is still going to be a place for certain blue chip meme coins. And so there's certain things that don't carry a proper valuation. And so you look at this, and I'm going to go back to the stock market. So you can sit here and say, hey, look, let's take a look at GameStop or AMC. Both business models are completely broken. You can't even insert a CD or DVD or Blu-ray or whatever disc you put into a
Blu-ray. That was fun.
You can't insert those discs into the newest generation video game system. Like the new PlayStation doesn't even have a disc drive. And moving forward, we can all agree that it's all going to be downloadable content. So what the hell service is GameStop going to provide? So you can go buy a used controller that probably has the left thumbstick like aiming to the left permanently. And so at the end of the day, the business model is broken. Every time you go to a movie theater, you sit down and there's like 5 people in the theater, maybe 10 at most.
It's actually very nice.
And so they can't be turning a revenue or, making a massive amount of profits. And you see these closing down. Basically what I'm saying is these are dead companies, but they have big valuations on Wall Street. And it's because they're quote unquote the meme coin of the Wall Street, right? They don't really have value, but that people are going to come in and pump the price up because, X amount of investors are just going to dump money into it. So the price is going to go up. So, hey, you get into it early before, say, a big run in the stock market. You'll probably get big returns on some of these, riskier, dead companies that essentially, have a big community. And so for me, that's what I look at meme coins. I think that 99% of them, and especially as the market matures, are going to have nothing going on. And when I say 99.99999%, because all the meme coins are essentially going to die. There'll be a couple around, just like there is, as mentioned, a couple companies that are for some reason highly valued with very little return. But yeah, maybe Doge, SHIB, one other. I don't know. I mean, I think the list is extremely short, and everything else is just going to bleed against the rest of the market. I think that's what we see in all markets. That's what we see in the stock market. I think that's what we're going to see in crypto markets. It's just it's going to move to quality eventually.
It's going to have no choice.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to do a giveaway. I'm going to give away 2 almanacs today. And so all we're going to keep this simple. For the next 10 minutes, all you got to do is be active in the chat. You don't got to say anything specific, nothing. Just talk in the chat. If you're active, Nightbot will pull you and you'll be entered into drawing. That'll be going on for the next 10 minutes. So at 11:57, we'll draw 2 winners to give away 2 almanacs to. And so just be active in the chat. That's all you got to do. Doesn't matter what you say. Be active and you'll be in the drawing. All right, let's talk about this. And then Rob, you want to queue up the markets, the market overview here. So this is from Chainlink, blockchain expansion update. The one I'm focused on is CCIP, and looks like they've onboarded 4, well, technically 5, ApeChain, Kronos, ZK, Hedera, and Hemi. Not sure what Hemi is. And then for their data streams product, BNB, Hyperliquid, and Mega ETH. I've been seeing a lot of people talking about Mega ETH being extremely fast and a good user experience. I personally haven't played with it, but CCIP, I think, is a game-changing protocol for some like Chainlink, and they continue to onboard some of the biggest names in the crypto space. We have this as well. And then, Forrest, if you want to queue up an XRP chart, we'll go to you after Rob. Rising XRP spot market volumes hint at next stage of a parabolic price rally. We know Chainlink had that really, really nice rally after the announcement of the SEC withdrawing their appeal for the court case. So with that being said, Rob, go ahead and take a look at the markets. Also, for the giveaway, the only thing we ask is you got to be subscribed to the channel. That's it. And we'll ask you to verify that once we send out the info if you win. Go ahead, Robin.
All right, so getting into the altcoins here, the biggest movers today. You do got PancakeSwap up another 14%. This was something that was up 50% yesterday, and we were highlighting it. BNB is really on the move. I'm not sure what's driving it, but PancakeSwap, #1 DEX on BNB chain. And so, yeah, I mean, it's at number 76 on the market cap list.
It got up to $40, guys.
And so how far can this run? I mean, at number 76 on the market cap list, it only has, a market cap of 700, just shy of $800 million. Now, this is something, you look back at the all-time chart, I mean, you can see it there, over $40 at one point. Do I think it'll get to $40? No. Do I think it can get up to $10, $20? I think that's realistic. So I don't know, something to keep an eye on. Maybe not the very best time to get in, but I do think that this has a lot of room to run. But let's go down the list. You got Barachain, Helium. I was talking to someone yesterday. I ran into someone. He was talking about crypto. He brought up Pi, and he was saying, very interesting. It's always interesting when you talk to somebody and they're like, obviously don't know much about crypto, and then they throw out like a random project you haven't really dug your feet into, and you're just like, huh. And he was explaining it to me. He's like, hey man, I just kept watching videos, and these videos were mining or authenticating the transactions or whatever it was. And I don't know. He said it like had a couple hundred Pi before it got listed. And so I don't know. That was interesting. A little side note there. Do you know anything about Pi?
I don't like Pi.
You don't like Pi?
I like Apple Pie, but the Pi token.
Yeah. So also Helium, Hyperliquid, and Polkadot all over 5%. And then you take a look at what's pulled back. So not too much in the red as far as big losers. I mean, everything is pretty much less than 5%. So kind of just stagnant in the markets today.
Is ASI a lot of 50 cents?
ASI, yeah, 50 cents, man. This, you know what? I think this was such a bad branding switch. I don't know. This artificial super intelligence, like computer,
to me,
I like. There's two chains that really dropped the ball on branding. Artificial Super Intelligence Alliance. First of all, like, why did you make a name that damn long? Like that? That's just. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's confusing. Anyways, I think the branding destroyed it, in my personal opinion. And then also you go into Multiverse X, I think was a horrendous rebranding. Elron. Yeah, formerly Elron. Where is Multiverse X? Are they even in the top 100 anymore?
I don't know.
Oof.
I mean, the tech is really good.
Yeah.
Multiverse X tech is really good. But yeah, I mean, but also Elron was not a good name either. It kind of sounds like Enron.
Yeah, I mean, it's outside the top 100. I mean, this is something, I mean, they really fell from grace. I mean, this was something that was...
Didn't we talk to some team members that said they hated the brand rebranding too?
Yeah, we went to a conference, and literally the guys at the conference are like, yeah, man, this branding thing, it's really not going well.
Don't say which conference. I don't want people to get in trouble.
Yeah, and I'm just like, huh. And yeah, but I think it was like after the fact, right? Maybe they thought... Maybe they're trying to catch some of this metaverse thing. I don't know, because multiverse, metaverse. I don't know, but I think if you go with
you can only get away with that if you're a Facebook, because you have billions of dollars.
I mean, like, imagine if Cardano would change their name to like Layer 1 Superpower Global Technology Infrastructure. You'd be like, huh? like what? Why would you do that? Like, keep it simple. Like. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like you're shooting yourself in the foot with that.
For Fetch AI, I think they missed out on a big opportunity, because they were kind of the original project that was focused on AI agents. That was their whole shtick, right? Was AI agents, create them, and then they rebrand, and then a month later, AI agents absolutely explode, and Fetch AI is not part of the alliance, and I don't know. I think the timing of that was bad. I'm not so stuck on the name. But yeah, anytime you
The
read
Artificial Super Intelligence Alliance is the token name.
bro, that sounds like a Marvel movie
get
coming up.
outta
You know?
here, bro.
Good. All right, Forrest, XRP. The chart said it's getting ready for a parabolic rally. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like the odds here. So you
Me
know, we
too.
talked about like I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I think 150 to 200K Bitcoin. So this is XRP versus Bitcoin. So if I think Bitcoin's going to perform well, I want to be in something that's going to even outperform Bitcoin. And I think XRP can, you know, potentially do 200 or 300, 400, 500, 600% on top of Bitcoin. So if I'm thinking Bitcoin's going to go up 150%, and then, you know, XRP is going to do a 3x on that, we're talking about like $10 to $20 XRP, which I think is actually, you know, very possible here. So this is XRP Bitcoin, and we have a volume profile for all-time price action or all-time volume on, you know, going back to 2013. Down here's our value area low. It's been a great buy down there. So if you're buying, you know, you're selling your Bitcoin and buying XRP down here, historically, it's been a good time to sell your XRP for Bitcoin up in this region, right? You've got your point of control in red, your all-time point of control. You've got your value area high here in blue. Now, historically, every time we've popped up to this level, at least going back to 2018, 2019, we've gotten rejected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times we've gotten rejected. Now we've pushed back up into this region, this all-time volume profile point of control. We're above the point of control. If we zoom in a little bit, we can see historically we stab up into this region and get rejected, which is what happened the first time we pushed up in this, and you know, in December. But we've since taken another, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attempts at breaking through this point of control, all while setting higher lows against Bitcoin. So there's very few assets that over, you know, since December, over the last 4 or 5 months, have actually outperformed or stayed in line with Bitcoin's performance. And XRP is one of them. It's one of the strongest alts in the market right now. And it's pretty clear skies above this level. We're seeing the consolidation underneath its all-time value area high against Bitcoin. We zoom back out and we look at what's above this volume profile. Well, we've got some price action. You'll note that price action against Bitcoin historically above this level tends to move extraordinarily rapidly, very, very fast, very aggressively. And if we look at the volume, we look at, you know, most of the traded volume is down in this region. Above here, it's air, right? So my belief is that if XRP breaks out against Bitcoin here, and we see, you know, $4 or $5 XRP, it's only a matter of time before that thing zips up to 10 to 20 rather quickly. So yeah, I mean, looking at this, you know, just to where we get our first level of big resistance for XRP versus Bitcoin on this, you know, the top and above here, it's truly air. But if we talk about 0.00878, whatever, that's from here. 190, call it a 3x on Bitcoin from where we're at right now. And I think Bitcoin's going to do over a 2x. So we're talking about a 6 or 7x on XRP here at $2.50. That's like $20 XRP in this, you know, in a breakout situation, which I think there's precedent because we're seeing our triangle consolidate in this region above this level. I think it zips up to $20 relatively quickly, 10 to 20. So I'm super, super bullish on XRP. Like, I just think there's a lot of, you know, TA and fundamental analysis to warrant, you know, bullishness on XRP. And the other thing about this is it's got really clean invalidation. So like, I'm open to being wrong. I've been wrong a number of times, but how much do you make when you're right versus how much do you lose when you're wrong? And if we look at, you know, what is our invalidation on a trade like this, right? We're talking about, you know, a 7 or 8x on Bitcoin, or, you know, a 7 or 8x from here on XRP. You know, if this drops outside of this triangle and we start trading down here, fine, we'll just cut it. And if it comes back in, we can long it again. But we're getting phenomenal risk. We're 8 to 1 risk reward here on a pretty clean invalidation if we're wrong and this starts moving downward. So yeah, I like this trade a lot. I think XRP looks phenomenal. As long as, you know, the market can get some feet underneath it. I like XRP quite a bit here.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Forrest. All right, we're going to draw the 2 winners for the Almanac. Rocco? Do the honors, my friend.
All right. So there is also some delay. The chat is going to get the result right away.
Okay.
And then we're going to announce it. So let's see if I can find it first.
Also,
right. Yes.
if you're picked as the winner, we need you to put in your X handle, the exact spelling, into the chat if you're the winner, and we will reach out to you. We will send you a form to fill out, and you will get. We'll send you a free almanac. So it looks like Spine Ticks is the first winner.
Yeah, Spine Ticks. Yeah.
Spine Ticks. So Spine Ticks, we need your handle on X, and then the second winner, Rocco will announce it, and then put in your X handle in there as well, and then we'll send you an almanac. While that's happening, I do want to go over this piece of news.
Hey, go ahead, and then we draw the other one.
Okay. So Uniswap, their community greenlights a $165.5 million investment to boost ecosystem growth. The Uniswap community approved 2 governance proposals allocating $165.5 million to the Uniswap Foundation for Growth and Innovation. The proposals lay the groundwork for activating the fee switch, enhancing protocol sustainability, and rewarding Uniswap holders. To me, this is a game changer. Uniswap has been and currently, I believe, is, Jupiter and I think it was Radium leaped past Uniswap on like a 24-hour and a 7-day time frame as far as volume on DEXs. But Uniswap is still king. And for uni holders to have the ability to earn dividends based off of the trading fees, I think is a game changer. Add on top of that, Unichain and leveraging the Uniswap token for gas fees instead of ETH. Is Uniswap, Forrest, to you, is Uniswap an undervalued project in light of the news and what you expect for it moving forward?
I don't know. I probably not. I mean, we saw Jupiter turn on the fee switch, allocate like 30+% of their fees, and the token's been down only. Obviously, it's going to be tied heavily to trade volumes. And trade volumes, like on-chain, is pretty bleak right now. Primarily, the primary driver of on-chain volumes has been meme coins, and I'm not particularly bullish on meme coins. Like, I think you'll get an echo bubble of meme coins. Like, I think if Bitcoin goes to 150 to 200K, like I think Pepe will go and make a lower high. I think a lot of meme coins will go up and make lower highs. But that could be good for Uniswap in the meantime. But you're also like, Uniswap is heavily now, even in a more vibrant on-chain ecosystem, regime where we're seeing a lot of volumes on chain. Like now, Uniswap's competing with Solana and Jupiter and other chains. So I'm a little bit. It's not a bet that I'm like all crazy about. I think it obviously be a good thing for Uniswap, but I think it's a little bit too little, too late. I think this needed to be done a cycle ago. For it to really have high impact on the Uniswap token. I'm a little bit more cautious. I just don't see the risk reward there to make a big bet on Uniswap here.
Interesting. Okay. Want to give a big thank you to today's channel sponsor. Today's show is brought to you by CAMS Blue Wire Technology. If you want to learn how CAMS can help your business scale and grow, visit bluewiretech.com or click the link in the description of the video. There it is on your screen. Rocco, did we pull the second winner?
Let's go right now.
All right, let's pull the second winner of the almanac. I haven't seen
Crypto Farmer 24.
Yeah, so we got Crypto Farmer 24 has won an almanac. Last chance, say something there.
Spine Ticks.
Spine Ticks. I think he might have left. If you leave before we draw, you don't get your gift. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just draw another one if.
Also, Crypto Farmer, we need your X handle.
Yep.
Put it in the chat. Forrest. What's your take on the weekend? We know weekend sometimes we see a lot of volatility going into the weekend close. What's your kind of thesis for the weekend coming into Monday? FOMC's done and over with. There's not really a lot of big kind of headline things that are happening. There's talks with Vladimir Putin and the Ukraine. Is that going to come to an end? What's your thesis going into the weekend?
Chop. I don't think, I mean, like my base case is markets start drifting upwards a little bit over time. So if anything, I'd say a little bit of upwards drift, but I wouldn't be surprised to open Monday lower than where we're at right now. But I'm also not necessarily calling for just like a major crash. Like I said, 73K is my target for Bitcoin if we do get another low, and I'd be a happy buyer there. So I don't know, chop is what I'm calling for. Little up, little down, but I got to lean a little bit more up than down.
Okay. I'm actually leaning a little more down than up, but we'll see. All right. We got Crypto Farmer. Rocco, let's draw another one because it looks like Spine Ticks is not here.
Okay. Let's go. Theo Rodriguez.
Theo. Put your X handle in there. There you go, Theo. There you go. Theo's in here. Theo, put your...
You said congratulations to somebody else.
So they can say congratulations to the previous one.
Yeah, well, congratulations to you too, because you won.
Congratulations, bravo.
Guys, I would highly implore every single one of you, if you enjoy Forrest's takes, his research, his charting, all of it, go follow him on X at Sistine Research. Also, he's got a platform that you can sign up to get access to his paid Discord. A lot of great info and stuff in there. I'm in there. There's a lot of high-level information. I've made a lot of money personally from being in that Discord, and so I would implore all of you to go to sistine.ai, and you can see what services are available and what fits your needs and what you want to do with crypto and how to make money in the space. Again, that's sistine.ai. There's a link in the description as well. So, Forrest, big thank you to you as always, my friend. Always love your input, your thoughts, and we hope you have a great weekend. And with that being said, Rocco, thank you all so much for tuning in. We appreciate every single one of you. Come join me in about 2 hours where we do our TA and FA show. We'll be looking at some charts. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next time.
Sin City, crypto. Everybody know we here for entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Name the coin that's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy a dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors they gonna teach us.